And good evening. It is
Good
not Eve necessarily today. It is the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls. And we are talking to the wonderful, magnificent costume designer, fashion designer, storyteller, Jenny Poole. How are you today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm okay. So today we're going to start the first of maybe a few of these 5 minutes with a costume designer to get people ready for the Steampunk Tea Party because lots of people have been asking me, oh my God, what am I going to wear? So we're going to give you some sparks of inspiration with Jenny Poole. So, Jenny, what do you do?
Everything.
This is true. This is true.
I'm a community engagement coordinator for an entrepreneur support organization. I am also a freelance costume and fashion designer here in Omaha. I also run the newly launching Goldenrod Anecdotalist Society, a community-centered storytelling event. And I take care of 2 dogs and lots of
Very
plants.
nice. And if you Google her, you can find some fashion show stuff.
Eventually, I'll have a website. I have one. It's just not published yet, but I'm working on it. There's too much. There's too much to put on it.
It's always something.
Mhm.
So today, Jenny, we're gonna take it nice and easy in our 5 minutes with Jenny Poole, and I'm just gonna ask you, what is your definition of steampunk?
So, my very favorite definition of steampunk that I've ever heard was somebody said once that steampunk is what happens when goths discover brown. Um, so, it definitely, like, the things that I love about it is, it imagines a world that didn't exist. It imagined a world where instead of electricity, we had everything powered by steam. And so, like, how different would the world have been if the Industrial Revolution would have been, run by gears and copper tubes, and everyone had to wear goggles because who knew if there was going to be a steam poof in your face or whatever. And so it just allows us to take these things that we know very well from the Victorian era and kind of spin them in ways that are super fun. So you can attach yourself to the things that you like, and then spin out on things that you don't. So yeah, traditionally it's brown, traditionally it's leather. There's a lot of corsets. There's usually very small hats, usually top hats or derby hats, but hats are important. There's goggles. I like to think of like functionally why those things would be there, like in a steampunk world. But yeah, so those are things that are traditional. A lot of stripes, a lot of ruffles for men and women. But yeah, for me, what's so exciting about it is this idea to like spin on this, like someone called it retrofuturism, which I think is really cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I know I was talking to a friend of mine today, and they were like, well, what can I wear? And I was like, do you have a vest? I was like, yeah. And I said, do you have a bow tie? He said, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get you some
Yeah.
goggles, and you're good.
Absolutely. What's
Like,
really cool about so much of it being centered in the late Victorian period, like 1889, is kind of what we think of, when we think of steampunk. If you think of like Jules Verne accidentally wrote steampunk, even though we didn't call it steampunk until like the 1980s. Women were wearing shirtwaists. Women were wearing basically white men's shirts and vests and long skirts. Like, so there was, as this sort of like middle class, these working women who were, riding their bikes and walking to streets and stuff like that, or like walking around and going to jobs and things like that. They would have to wear practical clothing. So while there is definitely a super like heightened way you could take it with like ruffles and corsets and hats and bustles, also just the period lends itself to some of the things that we still wear today,
right.
with just some like fun tweaks to it.
So, what are you wearing?
Well, funny you should ask. So I'm a costume designer, and so I had to like put a little extra effort into it. So I designed this outfit that is a shirtwaist. Again, shirtwaist is just a fancy word for shirt. so just a plain white shirt with a vest. I plan to build this vest so it's a kind of hybrid vest corset situation because I can and I have to show off a little bit. And then just a tiered skirt that has and one of the other shows that I did the Woodsman at Blue Barn, which was sort of like steampunk meets Oz sort of a thing in blue. And I did this technique with the skirt where I kind of like layered these like unruffled pleats of different colors at the bottom. So I'm going to do that same thing again, but just using a more fun color palette. I have a tiny derby coming, and I have some fake curls, and I don't know, I'll probably go super extra with keep going. As soon as I'm, yeah.
There it is.
There she is. Little vest, little tie. You get a lot of the like Lady Sherlock vibes from steampunk, or a lot of the Lady Sherlock period kind of like leans into this sort of steampunk vibe. If anyone watches Doctor Who, the snowmen, that kind of is like a sort of like quasi steampunk vibe to it. So yeah, I think one of the cool things about it is that I can root it in something that I like. So I like these vests. I like kind of look, and then I can kind of make it up. Like I don't have to. I'm not doing historical reenactment. So I can kind of go extra.
And so it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be lots of things. It can be a marriage between, like I was telling my friend, is your bow tie because they are from Nigeria? Is your bow tie have an African print? It's like, yep. It's like,
yeah, like the underlying theme of a lot of the steampunk stuff that I see is like more is more. Like if you think that it's too much, you're probably just about right. Like, yeah, more is more. So it doesn't have to be anything. It could be all the things at once. And yeah, which is cool.
I'm really looking for. I know some people are. Well, we had a workshop on Tuesday, and we were able to see one of the creations of one of the participants because they had just come from the thrift store. In our last conversation with Osti, Demetria, and Celeste, someone mentioned, go to the thrift store, get an old prom dress. It doesn't matter if it fits in one part. I mean, you can snip it or do whatever, just use the bottom, just use the top. And that's exactly what she did. She took one piece from something else that was sort of corset-like and put it over the dress so that it had like an underdress under it. And then the skirt plumed out and it was perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah. And there's lots of like really fancy tutorials on like how to make a bustle. But if you just get a circular pillow and fold it in half, I mean, like when we do theater, when I do theater and if no one's going to see the bustle, like I don't make a real bustle. Like I don't go out and get steel. I don't want the actors to hate me, so I literally just make a pillow that ties around their waist and then that makes a bustle.
Right.
So you can, and I mean, anything is like just as creative as you can be, and more is more.
I love it. I'm excited to see people's creations. And next time, so we've gone a little over 5 minutes, but we had to introduce you. We had to talk about what you're wearing. And so next time we'll talk about just like one thing that people can acquire or make or find in their closets that they can transform and use for the SteamPunk Tea Party. Anything else you want to tell us, Jenny?
No, I think if I say anything else, we'll go off on a whole other tangent. So we'll save that. We'll save it for next time.
That's probably true. I think we could talk about clothes for hours. Yeah.
I feel confident in that.
All right. So again, we are getting ready for the SteamPunk Tea Party, June 18th, 3 to 7 p.m. Tickets on sale now at afroscapescurls.com. And I'll be back on Monday. We're talking about breaking to Electric Boogaloo. That should be fun. I haven't seen that in a minute. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, hey, hey.